Well, so now we reach one of my favorite parts of any of our talks, and that's the book recommendation section. So I would love, it's great to have someone of your profile, and I would love to know some of the books that you recommend people could look to. And if anything, when we go through the list, if you could recommend maybe one book or two books and the impact that it had on you, maybe at the time you were reading it, maybe you've gone back and read them a couple times, they've had a different effect. We're definitely curious to pick our thought leaders' brains on what books have an influence on them.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Wesley. Recently, I've been reading a lot on credit union history in Canada, and I have quite a few books on credit union history in Canada. But it's interesting; all of the books are sort of written either by institution or within individual provinces. I have two here that I can provide as an example. By Their Bootstraps: A History of the Credit Union Movement in Saskatchewan, and People in Progress. This is the history of credit unions in Manitoba. And even though they're written by province, what strikes me is really the ambitions and motives of the people founding credit unions across the country were all the same, but they were regional. And the reason why I'm combing through these books right now is because we're at a juncture where we need to take that same purpose and apply that nationally. So both increased. We're no longer doing everything local. We rely on global. And so we need to be looking at things differently. So taking the ambitions of everybody, in the decades before us, and rolling into the future by thinking broader, by thinking about what we're going to do in Canada as a country.
That's interesting. You're talking about this concept of ambition sprouting up regionally across parts of Canada, but you're saying to kind of repurpose that ambition on a broader scale. You're talking about scaling ambition, basically, revisiting the same spirit.
Exactly. And, credit unions are local and will always be local. But the difference now is we're relying on international tools. So I have a quote from Merle Clement's book, By Their Bootstraps. Though the setting is Saskatchewan, the implications are national and international. Though the experiment was shaped by local conditions and local history, the credit union is the same tool in the hands of people anywhere, and the problem of mastering money is universal. So when it speaks to, credit unions are applicable around the world. We are sort of dealing with generally local markets, but by using international tools, we can sort of take what was thought about in 1965 and make that relevant in 2021.
This is from the book with from Manitoba. This is
from Saskatchewan.
Oh, this is from the Saskatchewan history. Wow, that's great. We'll definitely follow through and get the author there. I think that's a very powerful quote to say, mastering money is universal. I think that's very true.
And then another quote from this book in Saskatchewan. Alan Turner, the provincial archivist of Saskatchewan in 1965, wrote, "A jubilee is properly a time for celebration, but is more than that. It is a time to honor the pioneer and the builder and to record their accomplishments. It is a time, too, to look at the future, confident that with an assessment of past experience, a redirection to those principles which were applied that were and proved to be of value, and a willingness to adopt to new situations, we can move forward to greater achievements." So again, it's taking what's worked for us in the past, thinking about the future pragmatically, and adapting to it. Credit unions have always been innovative. Credit unions have always been flexible. What we need to do today is look at the future and position ourselves so we can be successful as possible.
That line of thinking follows a pattern, a kind of wave that goes through it. It follows that same pattern of the analog versus digital that we talked about before, about saying, don't change for change's sake. Look at it, analyze it, see what works, be pragmatic, and use the best. In this case, digital helps scale, but how does that replace the things that are analog and what changes? And that's very interesting. It fits that pattern.
Correct, yes. And sort of managing relationships using digital. We're not going to go for the sake of digital, but we're using digital to support member relationships and doing what's in the member's best interest at the right point in time, at the right place. And I have one more quote from the Manitoba book, People in Progress.
Wonderful. I'm loving these quotes. Keep going. Yeah, these are great.
By Don Slimman. He wrote, "History is a fleeting thing, something that is often forgotten. With the accelerating rat race of life, the massive advertising and publicity campaigns, and with business swallowing up business, that forgetfulness is understandable. In my opinion, this can be fatal in a number of ways. The degree that we can begin to get off course as we come up with new ideas is infinite. it can land us far off the target that we had hoped to reach. And that's why having these conversations nationally is so important right now. I agree. It's easy to get off target if we're not thinking cohesively together. But if we do have broader conversations and we are open about where we need to be and we plan together, we can get to where we need to be in 10 years.
So you're saying that the mechanism of conversation, in as much as there's truth to it and people are being honest and transparent, acting as a tool for course correction towards landing where people want to go. Because like the quote is saying, you can land far off target if people are not aligned. And I think that's true in organizations, and that can be true at a regional level. It can be true at a national level. That sounds true to me.
Correct. Yes. Agility and openness. That's what it's all about.